Let me start with a question that sounds dramatic until you sit with it. What if the next 3 to 5 years don't follow the rules you've been using at all? Not a new sector leadership rotation. I mean a different logic. That's the claim Cathie Wood, ARK Invest's founder, the person the internet loves to argue about, made in a recent deep interview. And her message wasn't designed to make you feel good. It was designed to make Wall Street uncomfortable. Because she's basically saying you're all watching the wrong enemy. The story Wall Street wants to believe. Here's the consensus right now. Soft landing. Inflation is down, but still sticky, so rates must stay high for longer. That story is comforting. It gives people a framework. Cathie's response is that framework is backwards. She used a metaphor that's honestly brutal. The Fed is driving a car while staring at the rearview mirror. And if you drive that way long enough, you don't just miss a turn, you crash. Her big call is simple. The monster creeping up isn't inflation, it's deflation. Prices falling, demand cracking, a slow freeze that doesn't look scary until the ice is already under your feet. Now, you don't have to agree with her, but you do have to look at the signals she's pointing to, because they're not vibes, they're flashing lights. Red light number 1, new graduates are waving a flare gun. On TV, you'll hear unemployment is about 4%. Healthy, resilient, strong labor market, but averages can hide pain. Cathie zooms in on one number that's hard to unsee. In September, U.S. unemployment for new college grads hit 10.2%. Let that land. That's not a little softness. That's 1 out of every 10 young people finishing school and not finding work. Historically, that's not the beginning of boom times. That's often the early tremor before bigger problems show up. And Cathie argues this isn't just cyclical, it looks structural. Because this is exactly where AI hits first. Entry-level, white-collar work, the Excel tasks, the basic code, the repetitive analysis. If AI tools can do a chunk of junior work at near zero marginal cost, why would companies hire new grads the way they used to? Here's the uncomfortable part. White-collar stress often shows up before the macro data admits it. The job market doesn't break evenly. It breaks at the edges first. Red light number 2, oil is telling you demand is weaker than you think. Next signal, oil. WTI crude has dropped below $60 a barrel, down roughly 20% year over year. People shrug and say that's just energy. In macro terms, oil is industrial blood flow. It's also one of the most sensitive early signals of inflation and real demand. When oil keeps falling, the message is usually not poetic. It's simple. Real demand is cooling. Red light number 3, rent is falling, but the official data hasn't caught up. Third signal, rent. U.S. rents are falling broadly and persistently, but CPI rent measures are lagged. They reflect leases signed months ago, sometimes close to a year. So the market is already moving, and the official dashboard is still showing you yesterday's weather. Cathie's point is we have 3 warning lights flashing at the same time. New grads, labor stress. Oil demand stress, rent living cost stress, masked by lag. And if the Fed sees that and still says inflation is the threat, keep rates high. Cathie thinks the Fed is doing something like this, pouring liquid nitrogen onto an economy that's already starting to freeze. The deeper engine technology doesn't just lower costs, it breaks pricing. Now here's where her argument gets stronger, not weaker, because deflation isn't just about demand falling, it's about technology. Yes, training frontier AI is expensive, but the user-level cost of AI is racing toward zero. And technology is deflationary by nature. It increases efficiency, it compresses margins, it rewrites what people are willing to pay for. So if AI really spreads across finance, healthcare, manufacturing, and services, price pressure down may not be a cycle. It may be a trend, a structural gravity. And this is where people panic and say, okay, if deflation is coming, doesn't that kill growth stocks? Isn't ARK finished? Cathie's answer is direct. True disruption doesn't need cheap money the way people think. When a technology hits escape velocity EVS gene editing, AI unit cost drops enough to unlock mass markets. At that point, demand doesn't politely grow. It explodes. So whether rates are 2% or 5%, people still choose what's faster, cheaper, better. And if you're still thinking this is just a short-term rates debate, you're missing what she's actually saying. She's arguing the economy itself is changing shape. The market won't move together, it will split. Cathie's next claim: the future isn't everything up or everything down. It's a sharper K-shaped split, and she reshuffles the famous tech giants into three buckets. Bucket 1, true disruptors, 40 to 50% growth potential. And here's the headline: she pulls Tesla out and puts it here. Not because Tesla sells cars, because Tesla behaves like a volatile innovation machine. Autonomy, robots, AI compute, big swings, big ambition. In her framework, Tesla isn't a mature megacap fortress. It's an on-the-edge of breakthrough disruptor. Bucket 2, classic megacaps, still great, 15 to 25% growth. Microsoft, Apple, Google, and friends, amazing companies. But she says their moats are quietly being eroded as AI disintermediates old distribution advantages. They can remain powerful without being automatic winners. Bucket 3, old order assets, structural devaluation risk, legacy models that can't participate in the efficiency revolution. And this part stings. Sometimes stable doesn't mean safe. Sometimes it means slow bleeding. Why ARK looks insane but isn't random. Now we get to the part people love to mock. ARK's wild volatility. Cathie's playbook is surprisingly simple: extreme dynamic rebalancing. She harvests gains from what became loved and redeploys into what became hated if she believes the fundamentals aren't truly broken. When Tesla rips and becomes the market's favorite, most investors hold and celebrate. Cathie often does the opposite. She takes profits and buys things that look dead. Names crushed by headlines, sentiment, and fear. That feels inhuman, but it's consistent. And then when those hated names rebound, she rebalances again. You don't have to like it, but you should understand it. Because there's a sharp critique here. The critique: this is a mean reversion, gamble, genius, or disaster. Cathie is betting on mean reversion. What gets overhyped comes back down. What gets crushed gets rediscovered. When she's right, gains can be explosive. When she's wrong, it becomes the investing sin everyone fears. Selling winners to feed losers. And that's why ARK's volatility isn't bad luck. It's the price of the strategy. She's trading certainty for possibility over and over again. That takes conviction, and a stomach most people simply don't have. Which brings us to the most crowded trade on earth right now. AI hardware. Nvidia, great company, is not the same as great stock. Cathie acknowledges Nvidia is exceptional, but she repeats a brutal truth. In investing, good company does not automatically mean good stock, and she flags three slow-burning risks. Risk 1, customers become competitors. Biggest buyers, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, are building their own chips. Nobody wants to pay tolls forever. Risk 2, specialized chips. In key workloads, autonomy, robotics, custom silicon can beat general GPUs. Risk 3, the margin curse. A gross margin near 75% is like blood in the water. It invites competitors and pushes customers to find substitutes. So her position isn't Nvidia is trash. It's when everyone believes something cannot fail, risk stacks quietly. Her ARK-style alternative, AMD. And she gives 3 reasons: engineering style. Reason 1, memory and architecture trade-offs can matter as much as raw compute in LLM workloads. Reason 2, AMD has been aggressively taking CPU share from Intel. Server and HPC share nearing about 40% is historically shocking. Reason 3, the future is CPU plus GPU coordination. AMD is one of the few who can compete credibly on both. Her punchline: Nvidia's expectations are already full. AMD's expectations are still stuck in the forever second place story. An opportunity often lives in that gap. The bigger map, crypto and medical robots. Then she zooms out further. Crypto, in her view, isn't a casino chip. It's a financial internet. Bitcoin sits on the throne, institutional gateway, digital gold, liquidity king. Ethereum is infrastructure, the platform layer. Solana leans consumer, fast, cheap, high interaction. But the real catalyst she watches isn't a price candle, it's plumbing. When major wirehouses officially allow advisors to recommend spot Bitcoin ETFs that could unlock massive flows. Retirement accounts, family offices, cautious institutions allocating 1 to 3%. Then she goes long horizon again. Healthcare, AI, and surgical robotics. Intuitive Surgical is the dominant leader today. And she throws a cold bucket of reality on humanoid surgery bots. ARC's estimate a surgical-capable humanoid robot is 200,000 times more complex than a self-driving car. That's why disruption in medicine is slow, and that's why moats are deep. Neuralink is her example. Implanting chips into the brain isn't just software, it's precision engineering. Her point, the next medical giants won't just have clever models, they'll fuse AI decision-making with extremely reliable, precise hardware. So what do we do with all this? Here's the most important part. Don't copy ARK, copy the lens. Cathie invests with a telescope 5 to 10 years out. Most people live with a microscope, next quarter, next bill, next mortgage payment. That mismatch is where investors get hurt. So instead of copying her roller coaster, use her framework to stress test your own portfolio. If deflation arrives, what you own, does it hold up? If AI reshapes your industry, do you still have an edge? If tech rewrites business models, are you positioned or exposed? The smartest posture in a time like this might be cautious optimism. Respect that progress is irreversible, and respect that market cycles are brutal, because being right is intelligence. But staying alive long enough to benefit from being right, that's the real skill. If this helped you see the market differently, hit like, save it, subscribe, turn on the bell, and tell me in the comments, are you more of a hold the winners person